What if the biggest sign she doesn't love you is something you're choosing to ignore? Because the truth is, women don't suddenly wake up and stop loving. It's a process, a slow emotional withdrawal, and if you don't understand the psychology behind it, you'll keep chasing someone who already left you emotionally a long time ago. This isn't about blaming her. This is about seeing reality clearly before you lose yourself trying to hold on. When a woman is emotionally invested, effort is something she gives naturally without needing to be asked or reminded. It shows in the small details, the way she checks in on you, the way she listens, the way she tries to make things better when something feels off. Effort is not just about big gestures, it's in consistency, presence, and care. But when that investment starts to fade, the change is subtle at first. She becomes less attentive, less responsive, and less willing to put energy into maintaining the connection. Things that once mattered to her no longer seem important. Plans become optional, conversations feel like obligations, and the relationship slowly shifts from something she nurtures to something she merely tolerates. What makes this particularly difficult to process is that you may find yourself compensating for her lack of effort. You try harder, communicate more, and put in extra energy to keep things alive, hoping she will meet you halfway again. But effort in a relationship is never meant to be one-sided. When someone truly values you, they don't let you carry the emotional weight alone. As her investment declines, you begin to notice that she no longer initiates, no longer fixes, and no longer prioritizes the bond you share. It's not that she's incapable of effort. It's that she has chosen not to direct it toward you anymore. The relationship starts to feel imbalanced, where you are consistently giving and she is consistently withdrawing, creating a silent disconnect that grows deeper with time. Communication is the lifeline of any relationship, and when it begins to change, it rarely happens without a deeper emotional reason. In the beginning, conversations feel effortless. There is curiosity, engagement, and a natural desire to understand each other. She asks questions, shares openly, and responds with interest. But when her feelings start to shift, communication is one of the first things to reflect it. What once felt alive and meaningful slowly becomes dry and minimal. Her replies get shorter, less expressive, and often delayed. The excitement in her tone disappears, replaced by neutrality or indifference. Even when you try to engage, it feels like you're carrying the conversation alone, putting in energy that is no longer being reciprocated. As this pattern continues, communication doesn't just become dry, it starts to feel forced. Interactions lose their natural flow, and every conversation begins to feel like an obligation rather than a choice. You may notice that she responds out of politeness rather than genuine interest, and there's a lack of emotional depth in what she says. Eventually, this can shift into avoidance. She may take longer to reply, avoid meaningful discussions, or find reasons to not engage at all. Important conversations get delayed or dismissed, and anything that requires emotional effort seems to be pushed aside. This avoidance isn't always loud or obvious, but it creates a silent barrier where real connection can no longer exist, leaving you feeling unheard, disconnected, and increasingly distant from someone who once felt easy to talk to. Respect and admiration are the foundation of genuine love, and when they begin to fade, the relationship starts to lose its core strength. In the beginning, a woman who truly values you sees you with a sense of appreciation. She listens to your opinions, acknowledges your efforts, and speaks to you with a level of regard that reflects how she feels about you. There is a natural admiration in the way she interacts with you, not because you are perfect, but because she chooses to see your worth. But when those feelings start to change, respect doesn't disappear overnight. It slowly erodes through subtle shifts in behavior. The tone she uses becomes different, sometimes more dismissive, sometimes more critical, and the patience she once had begins to fade. You may start noticing that she interrupts you more, disregards what you say, or responds in ways that feel slightly belittling. What used to be supportive becomes indifferent, and what used to feel encouraging begins to feel discouraging. Admiration turns into tolerance and eventually into disinterest. She may no longer value your perspective the way she once did, and instead of building you up, her words or actions might make you feel smaller. This change often creates confusion because it's not always direct or confrontational, but it is consistent enough to be felt. When respect fades, emotional safety fades with it, and the dynamic of the relationship shifts into something unbalanced, where one person begins to feel less valued, less heard, and less appreciated than before. When a woman truly values you, you are not a convenience in her life, you are a priority. This doesn't mean you come before everything at all times, but it does mean that she consistently makes space for you, no matter how busy or demanding her life may be. In the beginning, this priority is effortless. She finds time to talk, to meet, to connect, even in the middle of a hectic schedule. You feel included in her world, not because you asked for it, but because she wanted you there. But when her feelings begin to change, that sense of priority slowly starts to disappear. You begin to notice that other things take precedence more often: work, friends, social plans, even trivial distractions. What once felt like a natural balance starts to feel like you are constantly being placed at the bottom of her list. This shift is not always obvious at first, which is why it's easy to overlook. She may still make occasional time for you, but it becomes inconsistent and often on her terms. Plans get cancelled or postponed without much consideration, and the effort to reschedule or make up for it is minimal. You start adjusting your own schedule just to fit into hers, while she shows little flexibility in return. The imbalance grows quietly, where you begin to feel like you are asking for attention rather than receiving it freely. Over time, it becomes clear that it's not about her being too busy, but about where you stand in her list of priorities. When someone values you, they create time. When they don't, they create reasons, and that difference becomes impossible to ignore. One of the clearest signs that something has changed is when her words and actions stop aligning. In the beginning, what she says and what she does feel consistent. If she says she cares, you feel it through her behavior. If she says she misses you, she makes an effort to see you. There is a natural harmony between her intentions and her actions, which builds trust and emotional security. But when her feelings begin to shift, that alignment starts to break. She may still say the right things. I care about you, I'm just busy, or nothing is wrong. But her behavior tells a completely different story. The warmth behind her words fades, and they begin to feel more like habit than genuine emotion. This disconnect creates confusion because words can be reassuring, but actions reveal the truth. You start noticing patterns where she promises to call but doesn't, says she wants to spend time but never follows through, or claims everything is fine while continuing to act distant. It places you in a position where you're constantly trying to interpret mixed signals, holding on to what she says while quietly being affected by what she does. Over time, this inconsistency erodes trust, not necessarily because of betrayal, but because of unpredictability. You begin to question what is real and what is simply being said to maintain comfort or avoid confrontation. When actions and words no longer match, the relationship loses its sense of clarity, leaving you emotionally unsettled and unsure of where you truly stand in her life. When you step back and look at all these signs together, a pattern becomes clear. Love doesn't disappear in one moment. It fades through consistent changes in behavior, effort, communication, respect, and priorities. And the hardest part is that most of these signs are quiet. They don't come with an announcement. They don't come with closure. They simply show up in ways that are easy to ignore but impossible to unfeel. The reality is, you don't lose someone when they walk away. You lose them when they stop choosing you while still being there. When the emotional connection is gone, everything else becomes a formality, and no amount of chasing, convincing, or over-giving can bring back something that someone has already let go of internally. Understanding this isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming aware. Because the moment you start paying attention to actions instead of words, consistency instead of excuses, and effort instead of promises, you stop settling for confusion disguised as love.